So the painting that I'm working on today is actually one of the first that I've finished in over a month. I'm slowly coming out of a pretty nasty art block, and I'm not gonna lie, art blocks are pretty scary to me, and I'm sure a lot of artists too. Art's one of my favorite passions in life, and when it feels like nothing is working and nothing I make is good enough, it leaves me worried that I may never draw or paint again. So if you're currently going through an art block or have experienced an art block before, this is the video for you. These are my best tips on how to beat art block. My very first tip for you guys is to step back from creating art and take a break. I think art block can come from a lot of different sources, but one of them is if you're trying to force something that's just not there. I think this is especially true for full-time artists or anyone trying to grow their social media presence via their art. I think there's a lot of pressure put on you because in some cases you literally rely on your art to pay your bills. That's a lot of pressure. So that means that you kind of have to pump out amazing artwork, but art doesn't really work like that. So in order to produce great art, you have to be in the right headspace? You know what I mean? And to relieve some of that pressure on your shoulders, you need to take breaks. It doesn't have to be a long break. Hopefully a day or two will do the trick, or even just a few hours of going outside and taking a walk. Sometimes that'll help. Sometimes breaks take longer than you want, and if that's the case, you can try my second tip, which is to switch mediums. For me personally, this is the one that has been the most effective for me. I spent the last few years almost exclusively doing digital art only, and once I hit my first art block, I was absolutely lost. I spent probably about 2 months miserable because I wasn't really making any art, or at least not making any art that I was happy with. And I finally decided to try drawing in a sketchbook for probably the first time in years, and within a week or so I was back to making digital art, and I had so many new ideas and things I wanted to try. So anytime I feel an art block coming on, I'll try using different, usually traditional mediums, and it typically does the trick. And by doing this, I've actually incorporated more traditional art into my routine because I actually have a lot of fun with it. This most recent art block that I'm slowly coming out of, I've been trying to use gouache paint more, and I actually ordered some jelly gouache to try. So you could also try other creative outlets like pottery or collaging, just something that's still creative that gives you an opportunity to try something different. So another tip that I have for you that's kind of along the same lines as the second one is to get into different hobbies. So for me, this was reading, but you could do hiking or cooking, just something other than painting or drawing. I think this helps for a couple of reasons. One, it takes your mind off of art, and again, it relieves that pressure that you might be putting on yourself. And two, it gives you something else to enjoy. I think a lot of artists fall into the trap of art being their only hobby, and whenever that's the case, you're relying on this one thing to fuel your creativity and give you something to fill your time with. But when you're in an art block, it's worse because there's no other outlet for you to enjoy. So you're stuck in an art block and you're miserable because you can't art, which is it just makes the block worse, you know? So I've actually found that reading helps me with art blocks because, I used to read in middle school and a little bit in high school, and then I stopped. And whenever I started reading during art blocks, I found that it was really helpful because I liked drawing the characters from the books that I read. And that kind of helped me with new ideas, and it also made me excited to draw again. So my last tip is one that you will probably find helpful if your art block is a little more mild. If you've been blocked for months, this one might not be a lot of help, at least it isn't for me. But if it's just been a few rough days and you're having trouble with coming up with more creative ideas, I think doing some sort of art prompt challenge or art idea generator can be really helpful. So if you're If you just feel like your own ideas aren't that good and you can't come up with any new ideas, then doing something like a draw this in your style challenge, or just something that requires very little creative energy on your part, I think can be really useful. I also think it's good to search and save ideas from Pinterest of just photos and artwork that you like, and it can help with generating more ideas for you when you feel like you don't have that creative juice anymore. Whenever you are art blocked, I think it's helpful to have some sort of folder or just resource that you can go to, whether it's I know I've heard of artists just writing down notes or writing down ideas that they have for a painting. Again, Pinterest, you can make a board. I have a ton of boards on my Pinterest of just various ideas that I might have. Just somewhere where you can go where all of your ideas are easily available, or like if something inspires you and you want to do something with it later, then you can have it all in one place. I think that's really helpful whenever you're going through an art block, just because then it's right there for you and you don't have to try and think of it on your own. So those are the tips that I have that have helped me kind of work through art blocks before. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any tips or tricks that you found helpful for beating art block. And for the rest of the video, I thought I'd kind of talk about the painting a little bit that I'm doing. This has been an idea of mine that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I don't know if anyone else does this, but I feel like I'll get an idea for a painting, but I won't feel like my skills are at a point good enough to where I can actually execute it well. And that's just something that I've always struggled with, and that was really no different for this painting. I had a specific vision in mind for it, and even the end result isn't quite what I wanted it to be, but again, it's more practice. I'm still learning as an artist and still trying to, get better and figure out what direction I want to go sometimes. Whenever I was kind of getting over my art block, I really wanted to try and tackle this painting again. I've tried it a couple of times in the past, and again, I just wasn't happy with the end result, so I would just leave it and eventually delete it. But yeah, this time I kind of wanted to muscle through, and overall, I think I'm really happy with how it turned out. Again, I can see that I still have a long ways to go in where I want my art to eventually be, but I think this was really good practice to kind of push myself and just see how far I could get. I pretty much have never done any kind of art where there's animals in the clouds. I don't draw a lot of animals anyway, so it was definitely a challenge, but I think overall I'm happy with it. That's pretty much gonna do it for this one. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope these tips help you guys with the next time that you have art block. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one.